Hi everyone, it's Josie Lee Gibson here with OARC. It is 2:30 now, so we are going to get started. I wanted to welcome each of you and to thank you for joining us for this afternoon's webinar on resident leaders in long-term care. Just a few housekeeping items before we begin. This session is being recorded for educational purposes, and we have muted all lines just to minimize background noise and distractions. We will, however, hold a question period at the end, at which point you can either unmute your lines or write in through the chat box, which is located at the bottom of your toolbar. And so at this point, I would like to introduce you to our speakers, OARC's own Jamie Ward and Melissa McVie. Jamie is a director on the OARC board, and Melissa is our education and home support facilitator. Over to the both of you.
All right, well, let's get started. Hello, and welcome to everyone. As Josie Lee was saying, my name is Jamie Ward. I am an OARC director and a resident at Thornton View Long-Term Care in Oshawa, Ontario. And I am an active part of our resident leadership team on our residence council at my home. And I have been a part of OARC since June of 2015. And just to let you know, we are coming at you live from Thornton View Long-Term Care in Oshawa. Oh, sorry. And I'm here with OARC's educational facilitator, Melissa McVie, and we're ready to dive into the topic that we're both very passionate about, which involves identifying and maximizing resident strengths in order to cultivate and support resident leaders in long-term care and OARC board membership.
Thanks, Jamie. During our time together today, we'll learn about OARC and the OARC board and governance structure. We'll share some of the current board member activities and areas of engagement. Jamie and I will also share some of the leadership journeys of our OARC board members, highlighting some of their motivations for joining the board. We'll also hone in on some of the leadership qualities that are demonstrated by OARC board members, as well as other resident leaders in long-term care. Jamie and I will discuss the criteria and steps for becoming an OARC board member. And lastly, we'll talk about how you can support and cultivate resident leaders in your own home and how to foster relationships between residents on council and between residents and the management team in your home. So the first thing we want to do is briefly introduce you to our organization. Who or what is OARC and what are we all about? Well, OARC is a 37-year-old not-for-profit association formed by a group of residents back in 1981. OARC supports and assists in the education, sustainability, and effectiveness of resident councils. Essentially, we are the connection or the conduit between the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care and resident councils in long-term care homes throughout the province of Ontario. We provide a network to strengthen the collective voice of residents living in Ontario's long-term care homes through their individual residence councils.
And as well, OARC exists to serve and represent residents living in long-term care. Our organization is governed by a board of directors including myself, all of whom are residents living in long-term care. And as you can see from the slide at the top, our slogan or our statement is that OARC is for residents by residents. And now I would like to introduce the OARC board to you. We have Sharon Cook, who is the president of OARC and who lives in New Market. David Kent is our vice president, and he lives in Mississauga. Devora Greenspan is our secretary and treasurer, and she lives in Thornhill. Lloyd Foster is a director living in Ottawa. Kay Garland is in Gananoque. Carolyn Snow is in Keswick. Wendy Thorburn is in Kingston. And as you can see, myself, Jamie Ward, I am in Oshawa. Then we have Joyce Williams and Reed Walker, and they live in Burlington. Then we have Denise Burke, who represents OARC in the north, in Sudbury. And we have Frank Todd, who lives in St. Catharines.
As Jamie mentioned, OARC's board is made up of residents elected by OARC member homes across Ontario. All have volunteered their time and talents to serve on the board and are active in the residence councils of their own homes. OARC is committed to building a board that is diverse in culture, background, skill set, age, lived experiences, and as you can see, we're diverse in geography, in order to best serve the organization and represent the collective voice of people living in long-term care across Ontario. This is a working board, and governance is only part of what these residents are up to. Board members provide guidance to OARC team members, such as myself, and everything we do at OARC is driven by the perspective of residents.
All right, the next slide is OARC board structure and governance. Sorry, and so I'm just gonna touch on some of that. The OARC board has capacity for 10 directors who are voting members and 5 delegate members who are supporting members. The directors elect an executive from amongst themselves to direct the activities of the association between board meetings.
Jamie, let's spend a moment discussing the key differences between these two categories of board membership. As you mentioned just a moment ago, directors on the OARC board have voting rights, and they are the legal authorities of OARC. Delegate members, on the other hand, are appointed members that do not vote. However, they lend their voices and their strengths to enhance the OARC board activities. OARC directors serve a 4-year term, where terms for the delegates are reviewed annually. Both directors and delegate members have the opportunity to be involved in internal committees as well as external advisory groups.
And just some further background. For me, I joined OARC as a delegate member back in 2015. As a delegate board member, I was able to learn more about the organization and governance, and I had the opportunity to be mentored and supported by some of the more experienced directors. I feel that starting out as a delegate member really helped me prepare to take on a director role when it became available, because I had a strong foundation of knowledge to help me move forward, and I had developed the confidence to take on more responsibility.
On this next slide, you can see a few of OARC's board subcommittees, including the Board Development Committee, which was formed with the purpose of growing and expanding our board and identifying and recruiting potential new resident members. We've also got here the Executive Committee, Finance Committee, and Governance Committee, in addition to a number of external committees which we'll touch on shortly. All of the board committees involve OARC's Executive Director, Dee Lender, and an OARC team staff support. The committees themselves are formed and chaired by the Board of Directors. And for every external committee or advisory group that OARC is represented on, OARC's Executive Director or an appointed team member works with one or more board members to ensure a resident's point of view is always at the forefront of discussions.
And the next slide we're going to talk about is OARC represents resident councils. The OARC board members sit on many advisory boards with the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care, with Health Quality Ontario, and Behavioral Supports Ontario, just to name a few. And we provide the resident voice and lived experiences to the provincial government and sector leaders, which helps us to keep everything real. We're involved in discussions about dementia, palliative care, diversity, transitions to and from hospital and to long-term care, and regarding quality improvements. OARC directors co-present at educational institutions and connect with students at schools like George Brown in Toronto and McMaster University in Hamilton. We want to make sure that young people pursuing careers in long-term care are aware of the role that residence councils play and how they can support them. OARC directors present at long-term care administrators courses throughout the year and ensure that new leaders know their role in setting the tone in their homes and supporting and collaborating with residence councils as well. We also present in our own homes and and others, educating residents, families, team members, and other stakeholders about various topics from the resident perspective. Here on this slide, we have a picture of OARC's Secretary and Treasurer, Devora, presenting at Advantage Ontario's Administrators Course just last month.
As you can likely already tell, OARC board members are very busy people. Some of the other board member activities include having regular meetings to discuss issues affecting residents in long-term care, setting policies and directions for OARC team members, and monitoring and evaluating activities of the association, furthering the interests of the organization by bringing forward any matters of concern to residents for discussion with the board and to explore possible action. The board is actively reviewing reports on research into issues affecting residents' councils. The board provides valuable input into our newsletters, seasons, and OARC in action to keep members informed about our activities and issues affecting them, and to share stories and ideas. We also have a lot of time to have fun together, to share news and views.
And the next slide we're going to talk about is board members and how they promote culture change. Pictured here on this slide is OARC's Vice President David Kent. He, like many of our OARC board members, is a champion for culture change in long-term care. Fundamentally, culture change is being open to changing the status quo within your home, to be open to new possibilities and fresh ideas on how to get things accomplished. From my perspective, I have a desire to help others see long-term care through the resident's lens. I want to make people excited about it. It's not just about meeting standards. It's about exceeding them and making things better. For David Kent, culture change means having residents involved in decision-making and quality improvement programs. It involves having residents contributing to the operation of their home, and the home being more like a home and less like an institution.
Wherever possible, our board of directors will travel to attend conferences throughout the year to learn, share, and to teach. They have attended and presented at conferences across Ontario, including Walk With Me, Pioneer Network in the United States, and various conferences put on by the Ontario Long-Term Care Association and Advantage Ontario, just to name a few.
Now we're just gonna discuss a bit about how the board members are staying connected despite the distance. And as part of and I am part of the board development committee that Melissa mentioned earlier. We recently went through a phase of board recruitment. I was involved in recent efforts that involved several of our directors reaching out to homes within a 10-kilometer radius of our homes and connecting with the council assistant and connecting with the council assistants and resident leaders to identify possible new additions to grow and expand our board for wider representation. As a direct result of these efforts, we gained 3 new directors and 3 new delegate members spread out across the province. You're probably wondering how we managed to stay in touch and maintain effective connections as a board. When you consider the fact that most of us live in different cities. When our board comes together for meetings, as we do this monthly via teleconference, there are 3 to 4 times a year where we get together face to face. We often have residents connecting virtually using a video chat platform from several satellite locations. We'll often have a group in Newmarket and Ottawa, and directors connecting from Sudbury and St. Catharines.
So now it's time to talk a little bit more about Jamie and his leadership story. It came as no surprise to me when Jamie told me that when he first moved in here into Thorntonview in Oshawa, he quickly was approached to be part of the home's residents' council. Jamie, can you tell us a little bit more about that experience?
I sure can. When I moved into Thorntonview, the council at the home was in a redevelopment phase, changing over from the traditional model of leadership with roles like president and treasurer to a more leadership team model. The council had recently lost their long-standing president, and there were some big shoes to fill. And of course, everyone was reluctant to do that. We decided to move forward with a shared leadership approach because it allowed a small team of residents to contribute their strengths and skills in order to lead and support the residents' council. For example, strengths and skills, For example, I had an interest in running the home's general store and managing inventory. I was also interested in residents' council finances. As a residence leader, I was also passionate about advocating for my fellow residents and helping new residents with the transition to long-term care. And one of the things I have noticed is there is a lot of anxiety when someone moves into long-term care. And if I can empathize with them, that's great, and hopefully help them make a smoother transition.
So what about your involvement with OARC? How did you become involved, Jamie?
Well, Thorntonview's former resident council president was actually involved with the OARC board, so there was already an existing link with our home. After learning a bit more about the organization, I was intrigued, and I wanted to meet with the board to explore membership. I was invited to the annual general meeting of the board in June of 2015, and shortly thereafter, I was extended an invitation to join as a delegate member. I became a director when the opportunity came up in September of 2017, and the rest, as they say, is history.
So as a director, Jamie, you sit on a number of advisory groups and OARC subcommittees. Could you tell us a bit more about your specific areas of involvement?
I sure can. I've been an active member with the OARC subcommittees, one being the Board Development Committee. As we described earlier, this group has been busy recruiting people interested in becoming OARC board members, and we meet with them to see if they're the right fit. From my perspective, I am also a member of the Behavioral Supports BSO Lived Experience Advisory Committee. As a cognitive resident, I want to learn ways of supporting people in various stages of dementia in order for them to be more inclusive.
Jamie, can you share with us now, what are you most proud of? You've accomplished a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of frightening over the time, but yes. I have been able to increase my knowledge of issues surrounding residents living in long-term care. Since joining OARC, I have been able to see things with a clearer focus and an enhanced understanding. I have been able to increase my ability to increase my compassion and empathy for others, which has had a direct impact on the type of leader I am in my own home and in my own life. I am especially proud that I have been able to influence change while strengthening my own foundation.
Thanks, Jamie. So now that you've heard from someone who's been with OARC for a few years now, we thought it might be valuable to share a fresh perspective and talk about the experiences of a brand new director. So I recently had the opportunity to spend some time with one of OARC's newest directors, Carolyn Snow, who lives at Cedarvale Lodge in Keswick. Carolyn shared that she joined the OARC board because she felt she could learn how to make her home better and help others to improve the home atmosphere. Carolyn has also expressed that as a board member with OARC and as an active member of Cedarvale's Residents' Council, she's feeling more confident now about being heard in bringing forward suggestions for quality improvement at her home. After advocating for new replacement telephones for the nursing team, the home recently addressed this safety concern by investing in new handheld phones. Over the last few months, Carolyn has also enjoyed being part of OARC group discussions and getting regular updates about issues affecting residents living in long-term care homes across the province of Ontario. Jamie and I brainstormed some of the key qualities that we felt that resident leaders in long-term care and members of the OARC Board of Directors possess, and we came up with the following. We felt that resident leaders are champions in their own homes. They're willing to speak up. They're advocates and ambassadors for resident rights. They're excellent collaborators. They make an effort to collaborate and get to know their peers. They collaborate within the home and within the surrounding community. Strong leaders are communicators. They're compassionate, caring, and empathetic individuals. They're also very perseverant and determined. They're curious people, and they are invested in lifelong learning. There's always room to learn and to grow, and they're open-minded people.
So now we're just going to highlight some of the qualities of resident leaders. Resident leaders take an active interest in the well-being of others. They are involved in peer support and peer advocacy. They are able to see other people and look beyond their diagnosis and current circumstances. Being a resident leader also means taking pride in your own environment and helping out around the home. It also means having a willingness to share knowledge and skills to enhance quality of living and the working conditions within the home. Lastly, resident leaders are optimistic and they believe that change is possible.
Jamie, how does being an OARC board member help you to excel as a leader in your own home?
Well, I firmly believe that it helps me to stay open to new possibilities, new ways of getting things done. It also encourages me to stay up to date on current issues and stay connected to other residents, family members, uh, uh, team members, the homes management, and other community stakeholders and provincial leaders.
Excellent. So this next slide here showcases some of the motivations that were shared for joining the OARC board, and they were shared with us from other directors and delegate members involved with OARC. So I'll just share them with you now. Our board members were motivated by the desire to promote a positive living experience in long-term care. They wanted to find ways that residents can be involved in the betterment of their homes. They wanted to expand their knowledge and be open to change, that culture change we talked about earlier. They wanted to speak for those who couldn't speak for themselves, to promote resident safety and quality of life. Our board members also wanted to advocate for more holistic environments and person-centered homes, and they were interested in learning what the government has been doing to positively enhance long-term care.
And now we're just going to highlight what becoming a board member entails, and the steps and the criteria that are involved. And as an organization, OARC is always in a state of board recruitment, meaning we're always on the lookout for strong resident leaders throughout Ontario to potentially join the board of directors to make us stronger and an even more stronger representation of the collective voice of residents. In order to initiate the process of becoming a board member, a resident leader you have to be a resident leader with a vested interest in the daily operations of your home and have a desire to bring this to a higher level, to enhance the resident experience for people across the province. And you would first need to be nominated by your home. The next step would involve an initial interview that would be set up with our executive director, Dee Lender. and a director to explore the fit for the board and to further gauge the candidate's interest, strengths, and skills. The candidate would then be invited to attend a board meeting. At the board meeting, a motion to offer a position would be passed and a vote would be taken. And a vote would be taken to see if the candidate would be accepted by the board of directors. The successful candidate would then be offered a position as either a director or a delegate member.
Thanks, Jamie. Is there anything that you would want to share from your own personal experience with residents who may be interested in becoming part of the OARC board in the future?
Well, for me, it really all comes down to number one, you have to believe in your own ability, and that there is a place for you to positively contribute.
After hearing about some of the leadership qualities that our board members possess and learning about some of the criteria and steps that Jamie just shared in order to become an OARC board member, we hope that we've sparked some interest in those taking part in our webinar today.
All right. So further to that, if you feel that you or someone in your home has the leadership qualities that if you feel that you or someone in your home has the leadership qualities that we talked about, or maybe something else that has a special that is special or unique, or that could enhance our board, we want to hear from you. And even if positions aren't currently available, we would like to keep in contact with you. If you would like to speak with me or connect with another OARC team member or board member to hear about our experiences or to ask a question, I'd encourage you to reach out, to call the OARC office, and they can help you get in touch with the right person to help you.
A lot of people have asked me how to identify resident leaders in their homes. It may not feel natural or comfortable for some residents to step into a leadership role, or perhaps they don't have the confidence or feel that they have anything to contribute. Jamie and I both agree that a necessary first step is to take the time to invest in relationship building in order to create a home environment where both residents and team members feel valued, supported, and heard. People who feel empowered like this are often the ones who shine as resident leaders and outstanding team members across Ontario.
And I would just like to add a few things from my perspective. When you live in a smaller home like I do, you get to know people more intimately. There is a sense of community. In bigger homes, you may need to work harder to get to know one another. I want to stress the importance of relationship building as an essential step in order to have an effective residence council and more broadly, to have an effective home environment. You need to prioritize and nurture nurture relationships between the residents and the leadership in the home, but also invest time for peer-to-peer relationship building. I really feel many homes have resident led welcoming committees, or plan social events to help establish connections between new and existing residents in the home. I always make it a point to introduce myself to new residents and to encourage them to join programs and attend council meetings. I believe by making an effort to get to know your fellow residents as individuals, I try to make a personal connection. I try to make a personal connection early on so that residents know they can come to me or to the council and know that they can openly share. In bigger homes, it may be helpful to identify residents as from home areas or floor representatives. These representatives can help get to know the people that they see and interact with on a regular basis, and can bring some of this important information to resident council meetings. This benefits all residents by knowing what is going on within the home and better represents the collective voice of residents.
A helpful way to break down some of the perceived barriers or hierarchies that may exist between residents and the leaders in the home is to start inviting department heads, in addition to your home's administrator, to resident council meetings once in a while, even for a short update or a question and answer period. Having this private time together, allows residents to learn about managers on a more personal level, in addition to learning about their roles and responsibilities within the home. And this makes them more approachable. In order for residents to start feeling that they can speak up, ask questions, and advocate, they need to view the home's management team as partners to collaborate with. Creating an environment where open two-way communication is encouraged and valued is so important. Residents who feel informed about what's going on in the home and feel like their voices are heard are more likely to feel empowered, they're more likely to participate, and to potentially emerge as resident leaders in your home.
So now we're just going to touch on cultivating leaders in your home. Sometimes residents may not gravitate towards leadership roles on their residence council. In fact, they may shy away due to a lack of interest or a lack of confidence. Instead, residence council's leaders and resident council assistants need to work together to identify resident strengths. Both from the perspective of the past and from the present, in order to come up with innovative ways to encourage and involve residents, to make the residents' council meetings more inclusive. This process really starts during the relationship building we emphasized on the last slide. It starts by having conversations. You can say to somebody, I understand that these are the types of things that you did in the past, the committees that you were on, the careers and the life experiences, and follow that up by saying these are some of the areas where we need resident support. Will you help us build a resident's confidence? Build a resident's confidence up by saying, I think your knowledge of X will help with Y. I have noticed that many homes have come up with a residence council subcommittee that resident leaders can be a part of based on their individual interests and strengths. For example, on a welcoming committee, you may ask residents who are naturally social butterflies and more outgoing to be involved in that role, or with a finance committee. You may try to ask a resident with a background in accounting to help out with counting money after a fundraiser.
Jamie and I can't stress enough. It's important to take the time to tell people what opportunities exist and how they can contribute, and encourage them to participate in areas that have meaning to them. Give residents a chance to shine.
Hear, hear.
So as our time together draws to a close, we do hope that through this webinar, you now have a clearer idea of who we are and what OARC does from the point of view of a board member and a team member. During the last 45 minutes or so, we gave you a bit of an introduction to the OARC Board of Directors. We highlighted some of the current efforts of the OARC Board, who are working hard to represent the collective voice of residents in long-term care homes across Ontario in many different avenues. We shared a list of qualities that resident leaders may possess, and we touched on the criteria and steps to becoming an OARC board member. Lastly, we spent some time discussing the need to invest in relationship building in your home and the importance of identifying individual resident strengths. We talked about building capacity and allowing residents to emerge as potential leaders.
And that sort of wraps everything up, really. We would like to take this time to thank you so much for being a part of our webinar presentation today. And we'd now like to open things up if there should be any questions.
And I know we have a few of our OARC board members on the webinar today as participants. I think I see Reed and Sharon there, whose names you heard earlier when Jamie so kindly introduced our board members. So if anyone has any questions for any of the OARC team, we'd love to hear from you now, either in the chat box or Josie Lee can unmute your line, or you can manually unmute your line. Everyone's so quiet. Well, perhaps we've touched on everything, Jamie.
Oh.
We hope we've given you a flavor that being part of the OARC board can bring a lot of meaning and excitement to your life. And
Yes.
I think you can tell that Jamie is a really enthusiastic, passionate person whose involvement is very big at the home level, but also at the provincial level. And Sharon Cook's on the line. She's saying it's very important that you interact with the residents on your council. I don't know if I can pull that up. Josie Lee, can you summarize some of the chat box topics?
I can. So Sharon Cook has just wrote in emphasizing the importance to interact with your residents' council and getting the residents involved in the council.
For sure.
And we know that residents' council, if you've had me in for a presentation into your home, you know that resident council is much more than a monthly meeting. We always stress that. There's a lot of council activities happening all month long. And relationship building is something we commit to do each and every day. It's not just a one-time occasion when someone first moves in. It's ongoing.
It's an ongoing thing from day to day, talking about things, talking about how residents are feeling about what's going on in their home, and how they can effectively take their things that they might be concerned about and have a plan, develop a plan, and go through things to deal with things in the best possible way.
So I think at this point in time, if there's no other questions, I would just like to say a big thank you to Melissa and Jamie, specifically Jamie for opening up and sharing your leadership journey with all of those on the line. I think you're a real inspiration to everybody. So thank you for taking the time to open up this afternoon. And to everybody who took the time this afternoon out of their busy days to join this webinar. So I think that it will be it for now, and bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank you.